All right, so let's start with some breaking news that has just come in from the United States of America. A former U.S. National Guard soldier has been arrested in Michigan for allegedly plotting a mass shooting on a military base. The U.S. Justice Department says that 19-year-old Amar Abdul Majid Muhammad of Melvindale was planning the attack on behalf of the so-called Islamic State, and he now faces federal charges, including an attempt to providing material support to a foreign terror group and distributing information on how to build a destructive device. Now, according to the head of the DOJ's National Security Division, he was reportedly planning a deadly attack on a U.S. military base for the so-called Islamic State. The federal authorities have not yet named the targeted base, but have called it a serious and an active threat that was foiled in time. Similar arrests have also been made last year in September, when a Pakistani national named Mohammad Shahzaib Khan was arrested for plotting an attack on a Jewish center in New York. Now, the ISIS-inspired attacks have been on the rise in recent times in the United States. A U.S. Army veteran motivated by loyalty to the jihadist group, the so-called Islamic State, carried out a car-ramming attack in New Orleans on the 1st of January in 2025. All right, now to give us more details on this, we are joined on this broadcast by our correspondent Susan Tehrani, who's joining us live from New York. Susan, what is the latest on the story?
Yeah, as you mentioned, this was an individual that was in touch with two undercover FBI agents as early as 2024, before this May 13th incident where he was apprehended and arrested. He said he had a desire to carry out this mass shooting on behalf of ISIS. On his final day and the day that he wanted to carry out this attack, his drone flew over the Michigan development and ultimately just for reconnaissance, and ultimately he was arrested. And now, of course, he's in prison pre-trial because of being a flight risk and the sensitivity of the case. But you also mentioned that Pakistani national, the 20-year-old who was arrested in Quebec, Canada, because he wanted to carry an attack on Jewish centers here in New York, that would have coincided in 2024 with the October 7th terrorist attacks against Israel.
Now, this moment, it's an investigation that is still ongoing. Is this said to be some kind of a lone wolf planning attack, or was he in touch with other individuals?
We don't know yet. We have to wait for his trial. This is just the first reports that we're getting regarding this case from the State Department. But of course, we'll keep you posted.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Susan Tehrani, for joining us with all those details there.
And now shifting to corporate America, tech giant Microsoft has announced that it will be cutting about 6,000 jobs across all levels, teams, and geographies as it looks to slash unnecessary layers of management amid a boom in artificial intelligence. The layoffs, amounting to around 3% of the company's global workforce, are the largest since Microsoft fired 10,000 employees earlier in 2023. Microsoft, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, says these job cuts will help position it for success in a fast-changing market.
We continue to implement organizational changes necessary to best position the company for success in a dynamic marketplace.
While performance-based layoffs had already taken place earlier this year, this round is broader in scope, focused on streamlining management and boosting efficiency. The move is part of a strategic shift aimed at increasing agility and aligning with core priorities, as emphasized by Chief Financial Officer Amy Hood's most recent call with investors.
We continue to focus on building high-performing teams and increasing our agility by reducing layers with fewer managers.
Now, the layoffs come amid a broader trend in the tech industry where companies are spending heavily on artificial intelligence while cutting costs elsewhere to safeguard profit margins. Now, Microsoft has earmarked $80 billion just this year to expand data centers and handle the demands of AI technologies. Yet despite that, the cost of scaling its AI infrastructure has weighed on profitability with its cloud. However, Microsoft isn't alone in having such issues. Big tech companies like Google, Amazon, and Meta have also made layoffs in order to invest in AI while attempting to remain competitive in this rapidly evolving industry. So with AI transforming the tech landscape, the pressure is on from investors to keep costs tight while spending big on the technologies that promise to define the future. And as the AI race intensifies, companies like Microsoft are making high-stakes bets on technology and on who stays to build it.
Artificial intelligence is already transforming our lives. Physical AI is the next step in its development. Robots with the new technology can respond to real-world challenges and perform complex tasks autonomously. In the first segment of our two-part AI series, NHK World's Shinoda Aya reports on the latest advances in the United States.
The robots in this warehouse can handle a wide range of tasks. They can distinguish items by size or shape, and even unload or transport goods. They are powered by physical AI. Developers say the artificial intelligence has learned to understand physical laws like gravity and friction through simulation. And now this technology enables the robots to deal with changes in the real-world environment. The new technology was in the spotlight at this event, held by U.S. semiconductor giant NVIDIA.
Ability to understand the physical world, the three-dimensional world, is what's going to enable a new era of AI we call physical AI, and it's going to enable robotics.
Some robots use physical AI to monitor energy-related facilities. Others are being developed to serve households. They can care for plants and clean up rooms. And some will utilize the technology to work in theme parks. Physical AI is seen as the next step for generative AI, and various tech firms are racing to develop the technology.
You need a brain for the robot, and the brain is built from physical AI, then results in a brain that we can put in the actual robot. And now it's a very exciting time.
Self-driving is one field with high hopes for the latest advances in physical AI. This startup in the U.S. state of California is developing AI for next-generation autonomous driving. These are images used to train the AI brain. AI-generated synthetic image data using actual photos and videos can replicate rare situations to be simulated. The startup says physical AI's understanding of what can happen in the real world can increase the safety of autonomous driving.
If there's some scenario that happens very rarely, like once in 10,000 miles in the real world, that's very expensive to get that one example. But if in simulation we can say just focus on simulating this one scenario over and over again,
physical AI can bring even more convenience to our daily lives, but it is uncertain how future uses will reshape our society. Shinoda Aya, NHK World.
Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh. Bahasham Yahweh Shah, Bahasham Rachakodash, double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopefully elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, wherever you may be. Wherever you may be, Shalom, Meshra, Shalom. All right, so we're back to another world news but commentary, and this one will be super quick. Not super important, but I saw it, and I was like, this is very interesting. And the reason why is because this is a topic that years and years ago, because brothers know about it. This is a topic that has already been talked about, all right, about the discovery of Noah's Ark. So why is this resurfacing? It's kind of like when we just recently talked about the Ark of the Covenant, but I thought you found it already. I thought it was here, it was there, it was duplicate there, and this and that. Third thing, I found the real one. Yet the scriptures say Jeremiah buried it in the cave and it was never found, the place, all right? So, it's like I dropped my phone. So when something like this pops up, it's very interesting because, like I said, this is a topic that's already been talked about. Okay, the Ark of the Covenant. Let me turn my background down in the chat a bit. So yeah, so this is a topic that's already been talked about, man. So why is this all of a sudden coming up again, like It hasn't already been spoken about and already been researched. Okay, so I want to read this, Genesis chapter 8, verse 1. And the Most High remembered Noah and every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And the Most High made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged. All right, so we get the word ark here. All right, the word is taba. Yeah, taba, ark, a vessel which Noah built. Same difference with the basket, vessel that Moses was in. It was just a baby ark, literally a baby ark. All right. So, and then when you get assuaged, where there's shakak, all right, to subside, abate, decrease. All right. In other words, it's talking about the waters going back down. Right. So it says the fountains also of the deep, because everything flooded. The oceans, came flooding on the dry ground. The lakes, the rivers, all those things overflood, and just kept building up with water, right? It says the fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, because obviously the rain was coming from the sky, and the rain from heaven was restrained, and the waters returned from off the earth continually. And after the end of the 150 days, after the end of the 150 days, the waters were abated. So 150 days was everything flooded up. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, were the tops of the mountains seen. All right. So, and we're going to start right there and go and get this word Ararat. All right. Ararat in the Hebrew. Ararat. Okay. So, Ararat, the curse reverse, precipitation of curse. And now, number 1 is what we really want. It says a mountainous region of eastern Armenia, between the river Araxes and the lakes Van and Orumaya, and the site where Noah's Ark came to rest. Now, if you know what Armenia is, you know that it lies to the east of eastern Turkey. All right, as a matter of fact, let's light this up. We can. They won't let me get it. Okay, there we go. So we can light this up here. Let's see what comes up. Go to the images. All right, so look, you see that? Perfect. We can bring this up. See the map? All right. Romania, Bulgaria, Greece, that's on the west, Cyprus, but right there, Mediterranean Sea to the south, west, Black Sea to the north, and you see the area of what? Turkey, Anatolia, all right, Asia Minor, okay, and over here, you see what? Georgia, and then right here, we see that piece of water, that lake, or whatever, not a lake, it's probably bigger than that, but that little one right there, you see it's pointing, Armenia, that's Armenia, okay? So, and then you have this red triangle here, supposed the region where it landed, and which that's also a talk that's been of late, all right? This guy Ryan Dalton, which is interesting because Ryan Dalton talked about his main talking point was about Japheth being a so-called white man, which he's not. But then I think brothers also mentioned him talking about the chariots. But then you have this other guy who was a fallout from FWOI, Future Word of Israel, who's also scoffing about the chariots. So I thought that was interesting too, because some of these talking points are coming up from different angles, and they're the same things, all right? Because Japheth went up this way, all right. Ham went down that way, okay. And then there's the land of Shem, okay. Even our forefather Abraham, right, of the Chaldees, he started down here and did some travels and stuff like that, all right. So going back on point, right here, you see Mount Ararat supposedly right in the area. And there's other maps that show you the same thing. Turn it down, background, a couple more notches. All right, so yeah, and that's not really much I'm gonna get into. I just wanted to speak about this briefly, just saying like this has already been talked about. This information has already been brought out. So why is it coming up again in another conversation, like it's brand new? Like this is the first time Esau's ever talked about this, and I find it very interesting. All right, because most people don't know. All right, this has already been supposedly been discovered, but now all of a sudden it's brought up again, and I guess they're claiming that there's a broader, deeper search with it or whatever. All right, But you can never trust the devil why he does things. All right, sometimes he's just doing stuff. Other times he's trying to create distractions, and then sometimes he's got something brewing. So you never know with this devil. All right, so I just thought it was very interesting why they were bringing this back up all of a sudden. Okay, when it's a subject that they've already gone into. But yeah, that's all I really have for you. Yeah, I mean just a quick talk about that. So catch the news. Shalom.
This is Dabu7, and we've got some new details that are being released that is proving that Noah's Ark is in Turkey, Mount Ararat, where the Bible said that it came to a rest. They're saying 18 miles south of there. The image here on the right, which some scientists try to say it's a geological formation without any evidence or proof. Well, now scientists have gone there and done a series of tests, one of them using ground-penetrating radar, and it is showing some amazing things. They say, no way, this is just some geological formation, and you can now put that to rest, which means that this is bombshell. This is huge, the closest yet that we've been to getting answers here scientifically on this. Now, these scans that they did, you can see the one on the left here, it showed a series of details that were consistent with this thing at one time being hollow. Then, you can see in this scan, the scans showed that there were hallways and interior corridors of exact lengths. And you can see right there in the scans, you can see the design there. It was a man-made object. They also tested the grass and the vegetation and everything that was around in the area for different things as well. They say that when they were there, just by looking at it, you could tell that the grass growing on the inside was different in a different color than the grass even growing on the outside, which they said signified something being man-made. Now, when you get down to the scientific levels of all this and what they're looking for, they went through 22 different soil samples that they collected from the site. And what happens is they say the suspected structure had lower pH levels, it had 2 times the organic matter, and 40% more potassium inside compared to outside of the formation. These are discrepancies that the team deemed consistent with rotting wood. And if you know soil science, the one guy says, he says, because I'm a soil scientist, you'll understand that potassium levels, organic matter, and pH can all be influenced by decaying organic material, like wood. They believe this was the massive wooden boat. They've got all the evidence, the soil samples, the radar scans, everything to show proof that this is the case. And this is where it sits. This is more evidence than ever at this point. And it's pretty mind-blowing. And it kind of puts a nail in the coffin that this wasn't just some rock formation, that this was a man-made structure. The size of it fits the dimensions. Everything does at this point. It's all checking out to be legit. And this is the latest. Join me.
A strong earthquake measuring 6.3 on the Richter scale struck off the southern coast of Crete in Greece on Wednesday, sending tremors across the eastern Mediterranean and triggering a brief tsunami alert. The quake, reported by the German Research Center for Geosciences, that is the GFZ, occurred at a depth of 83 kilometers, making it a deep but widely felt seismic event. The shaking was not limited to Greece, though. Residents in Egypt, including those in Cairo, reported feeling the tremors, though no injuries or structural damage have been reported so far. Egypt's National Research Institute of Astronomy and Geophysics recorded a slightly stronger reading of 6.4 magnitude and said the epicenter was located 431 kilometers off the country's northern coastline. Tremors were also reported in Israel, Lebanon, Turkey, and Jordan, underscoring the broad reach of the quake's impact. Shortly after the quake, Greek authorities issued an emergency directive warning of a potential tsunami. The warning said, a risk of possible tsunami in your area, move away from the coast immediately. Follow the instructions of local authorities. The alert was precautionary and no tsunami waves have been reported as of now. The real-time earthquake monitoring website Volcano Discovery received thousands of reports of ground shaking from across the region. Many described the tremor as a sudden, intense jolt that lasted several seconds. While alarming, it appears the quake did not cause any serious damage yet, and both Greek and Egyptian officials continue to assess the situation. For context, Greece is no stranger to seismic activity. Sitting on multiple fault lines, it is one of Europe's most earthquake-prone regions. According to the Seismology Laboratory at the University of Athens, over 18,400 mostly minor earthquakes were recorded between the 26th of January and the 13th of February this year, especially around the Cyclades archipelago. Though Wednesday's earthquake was far more powerful than the typical tremors recorded in recent months, its depth likely helped minimize the surface level destruction. Still, the event serves as a reminder of the region's vulnerability to seismic shifts and the need for continued vigilance. As of now, no injuries or major structural damage have been confirmed, and the initial tsunami risk appears to have passed. Authorities remain on alert for possible aftershocks in the coming hours and days.
Off the coast of Oregon and thousands of feet below the Pacific Ocean surface, an underwater volcano is showing signs it could erupt for the first time in 10 years. At the University of Washington, scientists are studying what's known as an axial seamount. It's like a gateway for UW's cabled array, an undersea observatory that gives researchers a rare look into the Earth's geology. Inside the College of the Environment is one of the world's largest underwater observatories. Sensors stretch across the ocean floor, sending real-time data, including images and live video, giving scientists a clearer view of what's happening deep below the surface. Axial Seamount isn't a typical volcano. It sits above what's called a hotspot, where heat from inside the Earth pushes up toward the crust. As the Earth's surface slowly shifts, that hotspot doesn't move. Instead, a trail of volcanoes continue to form. At the end of 2024, researchers warned that the underwater volcano off the Pacific Northwest could erupt by late 2025, raising the question, could its release pose a threat on land? UW researchers say there's little need to worry because the volcano is deep underwater. The chances of it triggering a tsunami or earthquake are low. Unlike land volcanoes, this eruption isn't expected to cause widespread damage. It's too deep underwater and too far offshore for most people in the Pacific Northwest to even notice. The axial seamount has erupted 3 times in recorded history, in 1998, 2011, and 2015. While there's no exact timeline for the next eruption, scientists hope to catch it in action using their underwater cameras.
Shifting focus for now, Gaza seems to be fighting a new war, a more potent one than ever before, and this one is against famine. As hunger and malnutrition continue to soar, in a stark warning, food security experts have said the Gaza Strip will likely descend into famine if Israel does not lift its blockade and stop its military campaign with immediate effect. A leading international authority on the severity of hunger crisis says nearly 500,000 Palestinians are facing possible starvation, living in catastrophic levels of hunger, while 1 million others can barely get enough food to eat. Meanwhile, a new UN-backed report has warned 1 in 5 people in the Gaza Strip faces starvation. Speaking to the BBC, the head of the UN Palestinian Refugee Agency recently said denying food to Gaza is a weapon of war.
We speak about warehouses empty. We speak about food distribution that are closed. We speak about bakeries that are closed. And now we're speaking about what is still providing 1.5 meal maximum for some of the families out there that are gradually fading away. What's next?
And according to the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, over 400,000 people in Gaza are facing catastrophic hunger, with over 70,000 children, over 15,000 mothers needing urgent care and treatment for malnutrition. This very well crosses the estimated mark of children needing treatment at the beginning of the year. And not just food, Palestinians in northern Gaza are struggling to find drinking water, with some forced to consume salt water, despite the health risks. It has been over 2 months since border crossings into Gaza have been closed, obstructing the movement of essential aid like food, water, medicines, other utilities, the aid that Gaza's population of around 2.3 million rely on to survive. And with food prices in the market soaring, communal kitchens shutting down, existing supplies emptying out in no time, in a way, putting food on the plate of a Gazan and filling the cup with fresh water is proving to be a Herculean task.
I brought her here because she is malnourished and to follow up on her health. Currently, we have no food or drink, so I came here to get some biscuit packs or Cerelac to help her gain weight.
And amid all of this, Gaza continues to reel under mass-scale devastation from Israeli attacks. This latest surveillance footage captures the moment an airstrike hit people outside the European hospital in Gaza's southern city of Khan Yunis.
Morocco is battling its worst measles outbreak in years, with thousands of cases reported across the country. Since late 2023, more than 25,000 suspected measles cases and at least 184 deaths have been recorded. The outbreak, which began in the Zous Massa region, has now spread to all 12 regions. Children under 18 account for nearly 70% of reported cases, with many infections linked to low vaccination coverage. To curb the spread, Morocco's health ministry launched a nationwide vaccination campaign targeting all children and encouraging adults to get immunized. Over 10 million children's vaccination conditions have been verified so far, with support from schools, religious institutions and community leaders. Despite 10 weeks of declining cases, new infections continue, especially in border regions. The World Health Organization warns that Morocco's position as a travel hub could fuel regional transmission.
Across the globe, 160 million children are trapped in child labour, many in dangerous, hidden conditions. At the United Nations, world leaders called for urgent united action to end this crisis, which spans agriculture, domestic work and even armed conflict.
Roughly 112 million children work in agriculture, with young children aged between 5 and 11. And they are particularly at risk. Over 7 million children are in domestic labor, too often out of sight and therefore out of mind.
Speaking at a UN dialogue titled Child with Dignity, Hwangbo warned that child labour is deeply tied to poverty and especially dangerous when it remains invisible.
We need to enact integrated strategies that promote all fundamental principles and rights at work. Decent work for parents is key to tackling poverty, and poverty is one of the main drivers of child labour.
With only 5 years to meet global targets on eliminating child labour, the message from the UN is clear. The world must act boldly, urgently and together before it's too late. A newly elected Pope Leo XIV is stirring conversation far beyond Rome. Rumours swirling on social media suggest he may have deep personal ties to the Caribbean, specifically Haiti. His French-sounding last name, Prévost, triggered curiosity, And now many are asking, could the new leader of the Catholic Church have Haitian roots? I saw on the internet about the first American cardinal who became Pope. His name is Robert Francis Prevost. I heard there are discussions linking him to his roots. His older brother said that he is of Haitian origin, and the Dominicans also claim him as part of their heritage. I cannot decide. We must maintain an independent position. A pope of Haitian origin who has a Haitian family, I think we will be in his prayers. Just as Pope Francis always remembered us during our difficult times. While Pope Leo XIV has not confirmed his ancestry, Haitians facing gang violence and food insecurity hope this new pontiff will bring renewed attention to their struggle.
Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox, 1044 on the East Coast and 744 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and I'm here to bring you all of your top stories and live events from across the country and across the world. Do want to get you to this live image right here as we continue to cover the latest on President Trump's trip here in the Middle East. This is a live look over Doha in Qatar. President Trump moving on to the next portion of his trip to the Middle East, wrapping up this morning over in Saudi Arabia and heading to Doha. Now, we just brought you live a signing ceremony as President Trump signed a joint declaration of cooperation between the U.S. and Qatar. If you missed that, you can head over to our website, livenowfox.com. And you can actually watch it over again there. Again, you are taking a live look over Doha at this hour, but I do want to pop this image up on your screen as this video was posted by White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt showing Qatari F-15 fighter jets providing an honorary escort to Air Force One as President Trump flew into the country this morning. Leavitt captioning the video, Qatari fighter jets welcome AF-1. This is a repeat of Tuesday's escort by Saudi Arabian fighter jets, a fairly high-profile move that does have no recent precedent. And something else that really hasn't been seen before. Take a look at this video here. This was captured by a journalist with I-24. Now, a mobile McDonald's rolled in for the president's visit, allowing him to take his fast food to go. This is over in Saudi Arabia. Saudi officials say the McDonald's on wheels was personally made for President Trump to use during that trip. However, it's not clear if he made a pit stop to the mobile restaurant. The video has been shared hundreds of thousands of times on several social media platforms. We are talking Twitter as well as Instagram. It's also all over TikTok as well. I want to show you this video as President Trump did travel over to Qatar a bit earlier on this morning. The commander-in-chief, as I mentioned, was in Saudi Arabia. Now, there was a Qatari state visit that happened earlier this morning upon the president's arrival in Qatar. Around 1 o'clock this afternoon Eastern Time, President Trump scheduled to take part in a Qatari state dinner. We should have a camera there and be able to bring that to you here on Live Now from Fox. There's also been a lot of discussion over President Trump's efforts to accept a donated replacement to Air Force One from the Qataris. It's not clear if that will be discussed there, but in an interview with Fox's Sean Hannity, Trump did defend against Democrats who have argued that accepting the $400 million jet would be a national security threat. Again, we'll keep you updated here as that does play out.
The interim president of Syria, Ahmed al-Sharaa, shaking hands in Saudi Arabia on Wednesday with United States President Donald Trump. It's a meeting that would have been unthinkable just months ago. Orchestrated by the leaders of Saudi Arabia and Turkey, it captured Sharaa's dizzying journey from hardened jihadi to leader of the war-battered country. He swept to power in Syria at the head of a coalition of Islamist rebels that Washington has called a terrorist organization and once pledged allegiance to al-Qaeda. Since the overthrow of President Bashar al-Assad's regime in December last year, he's been trying to shed the country's pariah status, cementing ties with the US's top allies in the region. As Damascus reintegrates into the international arena, in May he travelled to Paris, where he met with French President Emmanuel Macron. His meeting with Trump came as the US leader said Washington would end its crippling sanctions on Syria. The news is a huge boost for Sharaa and sparked celebrations across the country, whose economy has been ravaged by 14 years of civil war.
A very different Republican Party. We won a tremendous victory in November. We won all 7 swing states, the popular vote by millions and millions of votes. The Electoral College, we won by 312 to 226. Remember, they said, well, we could get to 270. No, we got to 312. That's a big difference. And very importantly, we won counties throughout the United States, 2,660 to 451. That's why when you look at a map, they're all red. The whole country is red. Red stands for Republican. From the moment on and from the moment we started, we've seen wealth that just poured and is pouring back into America. Apple is investing $500 billion. NVIDIA is investing, and I see my friend is here, Jensen. That's very good, wherever you may be. Thank you very much, because he's putting in $500 billion. TSMC is investing. Where is Jensen, by the way? Where is he? He's standing here. Where is he? I just saw that. Thank you very much, Jensen. I mean, Tim Cook isn't here, but you are. What a job you've done. He said he's got 99% of the chip market. I don't know. That's not easy to beat. But what a job you've done. Thank you. We are proud to have you in our country. You know that. Thank you for the investment. TSMC is investing $200 billion, and with this trip, we're adding over $1 trillion more in terms of investment into our country and buying our products. ...1,100 strikes on the Houthis in Yemen. As a result, the Houthis agreed to stop. They said, we don't want this anymore. It's the first time you've heard that from them, too. They're tough. They're fighters. Just days ago, we were asked to cease targeting commercial. They were not going to be targeting commercial ships in any way, shape, or form. Anything.
bit since we've reported on any drone innovations coming out of the war in Ukraine, but the Ukrainians just soared to new heights, carrying out the first confirmed kill from a flying grenade system. Specifically, Ukraine's drone army used a Queen Hornet quadcopter with a Bulgarian Bullspike anti-personnel launcher as its stinger. The Queen Hornet is a 17-inch Ukrainian-built drone designed for multi-role missions. It can haul up to 9.5 kilograms, or about 20 pounds, over short distances. During the history-making encounter, the Queen Hornet fired a ROG-22 rocket fragmentation grenade, which carries about 9 pounds of high explosive that sends over 1,000 preformed fragments flying through the air on impact. Ukrainian developers say the drone stays stable after firing the rocket, solving what had been a significant hurdle up to this point in aerial RPG-laden drones: recoil control. According to the Wild Hornets Tech Group, a swarm of more than 100 Queen Hornets are already in action along the front line, with production expanding. Unlike one-way attack drones, also called kamikaze drones, which are loud and disposable, this platform is actually reusable, and apparently quiet enough to launch around before it gets detected. That rocket-propelled grenade also travels faster than most FPV drones, reducing the reaction time for enemy troops. Ukrainian veterans say just hearing a drone overhead could now force Russian infantry to duck into a bunker or building, or just retreat altogether. The Queen Hornet's development is part of a larger push by Ukraine to weaponize off-the-shelf drone platforms. Last year, engineers reportedly outfitted an agricultural drone with a machine gun and an anti-tank grenade launcher. That platform now targets armored vehicles and artillery, but we don't have any reports of it successfully performing in the field. Ukraine's military intelligence is also testing maritime drone carriers capable of launching both FPV and fixed-wing style drones.
North Korea is projected to have 50 intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of carrying nuclear warheads by the year 2035. According to the latest report by the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency, Pyongyang has successfully tested ballistic missiles with sufficient range to reach the entire U.S. territory. For now, North Korea is assumed to have fewer than 10 ICBMs, but the agency expects the regime to produce around 40 more over the next 10 years.
Taiwan's last nuclear reactor will still be decommissioned later this week, but after the passing of these amendments, what actually needs to happen for it to come back online again?
I think the opposition party has already opened a door for the government to return to nuclear energy. But it is not mandatory for the government to continue the use of nuclear energy. It would actually depend upon the decision by President Lai. He has to give definite answers to the people that if he is really going for a nuclear-free homeland forever, or he may change his mind in the future. So it's not a technical issue. It is a political issue.
Now, people who oppose nuclear power say opposition lawmakers rushed through those changes without properly considering safety and nuclear waste concerns. Are those concerns valid?
That's why there is a process of safety check and system testing. We will not restart the nuclear power plant until we are able to make sure it would be safe during future operation. There are already processes to deal with nuclear waste. So it's not really a problem. But besides, we are actually following the international approach for dealing with nuclear waste. We are not doing this alone.
And why are opposition lawmakers pushing for a nuclear revival?
They want to make sure Taiwan is going to have additional clean electricity for the future. And it must be also sufficient. And the other reason is, of course, the Taiwan Power Company has been facing very serious financial deficit in the past 3-4 years. And with the cheap nuclear energy to be continuously adopted for the future, the income of Taiwan Power Company will be increased, definitely. And I personally agree with them on these two issues, because these two issues have been troubling Taiwan for quite a few years.
לא רוצה להגיד דברים, אנחנו בימים קרובים מאוד נכנסים בכל העוצמה להשלים את המהלך. להשלים את המהלך זה להכניע את החמאס. זה להשמיד את החמאס. אבל לא יהיה מצב שאנחנו נפסיק את המלחמה. אני לא אומר, אתה יכול לעשות הפסקת אש לזמן ידוע, אבל אתה לא יכול. אנחנו הולכים עד הסוף. אנחנו הקמנו מנהלת שתאפשר להם לצאת, אבל הבעיה אצלנו זה דבר אחד. אין לך, אתה צריך מדינות קולטות. זה אנחנו עובדים כרגע.
anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Asyhadu anna Muhammadar Rasul. Kakak, Sandra, ayo Sandra.
Bài linh đại mà tô thôi, bài linh làm đại mà tô linh ngộ chị tên na chơi rơi thế nào chơi rơi cái từ sờ bái này tịch cái hai hoa thằng lươn mấy hey ui bikin kita makan berbau. Bikin kita main mengkulis sebelah. Itu kok berbau. Ara aku